Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about something a little different, and I need to get through 10 books while I'm talking about it, actually 11 books. So I'm going to try not to be my usual charming and witty self. It's going to be hard work, but I'm sure I can probably manage it. So today I wanted to talk to you about the YA Book Prize, which is the only dedicated teen and young adult book prize in the United Kingdom, which was set up by the Bookseller, which is an industry organisation and magazine who kind of keeps track of all things going on in the book world. It's a really exciting prize. This is its second year. And the winner of last year's was a book called Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill, which really set the feel for how this book prize was going to work, because Only Ever Yours is a feminist dystopian YA. It is unflinchingly bleak. It is dark. It uses the dystopian lens to kind of really examine how society looks at women, the standards that we put on women, how women treat each other, and it is done with horrifying accuracy and also with just such a sense of unease about it. It's a brilliant book, and I think that showed that the YA Book Prize was not going to be kind of pulling any punches. It was going for big issues. It was going for books that are really transforming kind of the YA landscape. So it's going to be a really important prize. Today I want to have a look at this year's shortlist, which I have read through, and the winner is announced on the 2nd of June, so that's next Thursday, if you're watching this now. So I wanted to have a quick run through and tell you all about the books that are on the list, because they are all pretty special. And as well as obviously showcasing a great range of books, the YA Book Prize is also judged by lots of people from within the industry, not only the children's editor for the Bookseller, but also Hay organisers and book buyers for Waterstones, independent journalists, all kinds. Although not me. I'm not one of the judges, which is cool, guys. I mean, I was busy anyway, so you know. Next year though, yeah. Okay, enough of that nonsense. We are going to get onto the shortlist itself. So, first book on the shortlist, Am I Normal Yet by Holly Bourne. So, Am I Normal Yet is the story of Evie, who is a girl just about to start college, having spent a number of years undergoing treatment for obsessive compulsive disorder. She has a lot of anxieties about meeting new people and what if they find out where she has been. She's very, very scared of relapsing into her OCD, and it's about the friendships that she makes and the struggles that she has adjusting back into society, and it's about kind of all the things that she wants, that she feels like if she has them, her life will be able to be normal. So a boyfriend and friends, and to go out and to not be crippled by this mental illness. I absolutely adored this book. I thought it was honest and funny and witty. Holly looks at obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety with a real honesty to it. She doesn't glamorise anything, and it feels suffocating to read about, and that's really important. I think we shouldn't be glamorising any mental illnesses. She works a lot on kind of pushing past the idea of being OCD is wanting your pens straight on the table. It's not, it's a crippling illness. And one of the other things that I absolutely adored about this book is that the friendships in it are gorgeous. All the girls, the three main girls, the Spinster Club, are beautiful. Their friendship is honest and it is funny. It's filled with feminist ideas and themes. It's very strident, and it's very willing to kind of call a lot of things out, which I think is really, really good. Their friendship is hilarious. Their misadventures with boys and with parties and alcohol are hilarious. Basically, Holly Bourne she is the worthy successor to Louise Renison, I would say. She's got kind of vibrant characters who really bounce off each other really well. She's got her teen voice and experience down. I think she's going to be somebody absolutely huge, although she is already making her way there. There is already a sequel to Am I Normal Yet out now, called How Hard Can Love Be? And there is a third book coming out soon called What's a Girl Got to Do, I think. I've had a momentary mind blank. I know the cover reveal was just a couple of days ago, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, and each one focuses on a different friend within the Spinster Club, so that should be quite exciting. Book 2 on the shortlist for the YA Book Prize is One by Sarah Crossan. So One is the story of conjoined twins, told entirely using poetry as opposed to standard prose, which makes it one of the most unique and lyrical books I have ever read. It's so easy to read because the style, the poetry breaks up the page really well. It makes reading it really fun, really enjoyable. It conveys the emotion with a lot of kind of energy and an immediacy. It has that kind of feel that lots of John Green books have, only because it does it in poetry, it feels much more natural. I think Sarah has just won the Irish YA Book Prize for One. It really is something unique and something very special. Also, by looking at the lives of these conjoined twins, Sarah is looking at something that really is unexamined in certainly in YA fiction. I don't know about the wider fiction world, and in doing that she sets the book in America, which lets her have a look at the idea of medical bills, and then she can touch upon ideas of poverty as well. So she can look at guilt. There's a lot in this little book. It's a very short read. Lots of it is broken up, and it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I wept buckets. So on to book 3, which is Unbecoming by Jenny Downham, which this is a proof copy. The finished jacket, which I'll put up here somewhere, is absolutely gorgeous as well. One is the story of a girl called Katie, and it's also the story of her mother and her grandmother. Her grandmother suffers from Alzheimer's, and it's kind of about how a lot of the family's history and a lot of who her grandmother was has been lost to this debilitating disease. It's a staggeringly good book. It might well be one of the best books I have ever read. Jenny Downham is able to look at so many different threads and story ideas and themes, and it should feel crowded. This book should feel full to bursting, but it doesn't. She pulls everything together perfectly. She looks at ideas of guilt and of regret and of sexuality. She looks at teen pregnancy and what that means and what it meant to previous generations. She manages to get the 3 generations of women in this book perfect, and she manages to make their stories really, really work. They just feel very honest and very real and very, very engaging. Jenny Downham's teen voice is really pretty spot on. She just weaves stories so well that it's a delight to read. Her characters feel very, very real, very confused, very conflicted, but that makes them superb to read about, and it's a book that is full of heart, even under the layers of kind of darker emotions that kind of cloud the story. Okay, next book on the list is The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge, a book so shiny I can't seem to get this shot right. Sometimes authors are referred to as wordsmiths, and I think that does Frances Hardinge a disservice. She's not a wordsmith, she's a wordomancer. What she does with words is nothing short of magic. The Lie Tree is the story of Faith, who is the daughter of a reverend who is obsessed with physical natural science, so the discovery of kind of dinosaurs and the look into paleontology and things like that. And it's about her wanting to follow in her father's footsteps, but not being allowed to because she is a girl. And at that time in history, girls weren't allowed to pursue the sciences. It was seen as quite bad for their brains. And it's kind of about this tree that her father has discovered and keeps secret, called the Lie Tree. And the Lie Tree grows and spreads the more a lie is perpetuated. So the more people believe a lie, the more the Lie Tree feeds off that and grows from it. Outstanding book. Francis's use of metaphor is brilliantly twisted. She uses really dark kind of ideas to kind of push her story forward. Her understanding of language is poetic. I mean, it's just outstanding writing, really engaging, really harrowing, quite windswept. I mean, for example, this book, The Lie Tree, opens with this line: "The boat moved with a nauseous, relentless rhythm, like someone chewing on a rotten tooth." Brilliant. I'm already engaged. It's phenomenal. The Lie Tree is a brilliant period piece shot through with magical realism, which obviously I absolutely love. It has a twistingly dark plot kind of woven throughout it, but bubbling underneath that is a real sense of kind of feminist anger. It won the Costa overall book of the year just the last year gone, 2015, which is a real triumph for YA fiction. To get the overall win in a mainstream literary award just goes to show the power of the writing in this book, which is second to none. The next book on the shortlist is The Curious Tale of Lady Caribou by Katherine Johnson. So Lady Caribou is unique on the shortlist in that it is the only piece here that is actually based on historical events, things that actually happened. The story of Lady Caribou is a real one. It is a very kind of honest stab at the snobbery of kind of 18th century life. It looks at what it means to be a young person back then and what was necessary to kind of to get by. It's a book filled with kind of misdirection, with lies, but all done from a place of hope and honesty. So it's very emotionally driven and it's very cleverly done. We always know exactly where Lady Caribou is heading, which gives it a sense of dramatic irony, but also we kind of know why she is doing what she's doing, and even her deceptions are seen as being either for her own pure survival or done out of an understanding of the people around her. She understands these people even though she is nothing like them. She is a complete world away from these fancy, very posh people, and yet despite that she does feel affection for them, and the way she kind of infiltrates their lives is really beautifully done. It's a very hopeful novel, and it really did make me quite interested in looking into the genuine story that it is based on. And one of the other things that I do quite like about Lady Caribou is that because it's so hopeful, but because we know her history, there is this creaking sense of darkness, kind of like an old ship at sea. You can hear and feel the way the wood kind of pulses and warps, and that's what's going on behind every piece of positive joy in this book is kind of tainted by this darkness in her past. It's really quite an interesting difference between these two plot lines that are going on at the same time. I've been sat cross-legged for too long and my legs have gone dead. This is very painful. Okay, we're over halfway now. This is book 6 on the list. which is The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. So The Rest of Us Just Live Here is the story of Mikey and his friends who are in their graduating year from high school, and it's about the end of the world which is going on around them but has nothing to do with them. They aren't the heroes of their story. They just want to graduate, they just want to get on with their lives. Anyone who has known me for about 40 seconds probably knows that Patrick Ness is one of my favourite writers. I think he's one of the best and most honest YA writers in the world, and The Rest of Us Just Live Here is definitely on point for him. It pokes fun at the standard YA ideas and tropes, but it does it from a place of love, which makes it a really kind of intelligent, funny, and quite heartfelt read. So while he is busy going, it's always stupid how teenagers are always the one who save the world in books. He clearly loves those books though, even though he knows it is silly, so his writing is very tongue-in-cheek in this book, and he manages to kind of pull together a lot of kind of the angst of coming of age and sets it against this ridiculous backdrop, but does it and balances it really, really well. There is certainly a good helping of Buffy the Vampire Slayer went into making this book, which shines through in the way his dialogue kind of crackles with wit and with warmth. He manages to touch on ideas of anxiety and mental health really well. Mikey is particularly difficult to not enjoy reading about because his feelings about the world, I'm sure, are ones that have been felt by everyone at some point. He also looks at ideas of sexuality and of gender and of all kinds of things, really. The book itself is very hopeful. It's a coming-of-age story, and in the great tradition of all coming-of-age stories, it manages to mix a sense of excitement about stepping out into the world and discovering who you are going to be, with a sense of overwhelming terror at stepping out into the world and discovering who you're going to be. It's a very important time in everyone's life, and The Rest of Us Just Live Here writes about it with a sense of honesty, and it says, look, this is hard, but it's worth it. You have survived high school. Well done. Okay, next up on the shortlist is last year's winner Louise O'Neill with her second book, Asking for It. Asking for It, as the title kind of implies, is a book examining rape culture and victim blaming, and where Only Ever Yours used a dystopian lens to kind of distort society and make these issues kind of larger than life, Asking for It is contemporary, and in doing so is all the more harrowing for it. It's unrelentingly honest. It is a book that stands on rooftops and shouts, this is not okay. It's a hard read. It is a hard read. I had to take a break halfway through it for about 3 months because it was just emotionally draining, but that doesn't mean that it's not hugely important. Louise is taking huge steps towards pointing out the flaws in society, and she doesn't want an apology for them. She wants them changed, and she wants them changed now. She's not interested in excuses, she's interested in action. The most interesting things that Louise does with this book is that she makes her main character Emma be not a very nice person. In the opening of the book, she's not very nice to her friends. She's a little bit shallow, and in doing that, she kind of makes a stand and says, look, it doesn't matter what kind of person these crimes happen to, they are still a crime. No one is ever asking for it, and no one ever deserves to go through such horrific experiences. The book is bleak, it is hard, it is important, and it's something else. It really is an unrelenting book. Okay, so book 7 on the shortlist is The Sin Eater's Daughter by Melinda Salisbury. Sin Eater's Daughter is a twistingly dark fantasy story shot through with quite a lot of quite steamy romance in points, and it tells the story of Twyla, who is the embodiment of a goddess on Earth, and her skin, her touch is incredibly toxic, and she is used by the king and queen as an executioner. And she is a young girl, and her touch kills criminals, and she is locked up in a tower. Guards are afraid to touch her. No one wants anything to do with this dangerous human being, so her existence is incredibly lonely. And it kind of plays off this girl in the tower fairy tale trope, but makes it darker and makes it more ambitious. It has more fleshed out plot, more fleshed out kind of look at the emotions of a person who is kept in isolation in such a way. Fans of Sarah J. Maas will really want to check out The Sin Eater's Daughter, because unlike Selena in The Throne of Glass and its sequels, Twyla is not the stereotypical strong female character. What Melinda has done is she has allowed her to be emotional, and she doesn't push stereotypically male qualities to make her character strong. She has her character be resourceful, she grows, she works against kind of this political intrigue, this constant shifting balance that's going on in the book, and in doing that she's created a very endearing character, and also a character that we feel is a fleshed out person, as opposed to kind of a robotic ass-kicking machine that tends to crop up in a lot of YA fiction. The plot of The Sin Eater's Daughter starts out slow and builds gradually, kind of getting to the point of a freight train for this big kind of explosive climax. I just said explosive climax, ignore that. But it's a brilliantly dark book with a very rich universe that it only just hints at in this, but in the follow-up, The Sleeping Prince, it really kind of ramps up the action and lets us see the world that is going on around the events of The Sin Eater's Daughter. Okay, book 9, we're nearly there, you can nearly stop listening to me talk. Book 9 is Concentrate by William Sutcliffe. So Concentrate uses a world in which a fictional ADHD drug is used to subdue large parts of the population, and it uses its plot to look at how we treat children with behavioural disorders. And basically it says, look, we're not treating these children, what we're doing is subduing them, we are sedating them, we are taking away their personalities for the sake of our own comfort. It has a great sense of class war about it, this idea that the ruling class and the upper classes don't want these poor people to be a problem. They want them to do their jobs quietly and not have personalities, and that they use medication to kind of achieve that. The children who are always singled out for taking Concentrate are always estate kind of dwelling working class children, and it's very honest about that, and it does it intelligently, I think. Concentrate is told from multiple viewpoints, not only of teenagers but also of adults, and that allows William Sutcliffe to have a look at the same events but viewed from different angles. So he can have a look at one event and see what it means to the teenagers involved, and what it means to politicians, and what it means to journalists. And in doing that, he can very cleverly kind of layer his book and have a look at different angles and really get a good kind of underview of society. He kind of mingles in with lots of different perspectives. The teenagers in the story have a very Lord of the Flies feel to them. They are filled with a chaotic sense of anarchy and rebellion, with plenty of fire but no direction to them, and that makes them quite enjoyable to read about. They they really do bounce around the page unpredictably, and there is a sense of just anger about them that I think is probably pretty indicative of teen life in that kind of working class environment. There is a sense of is this all we will ever be able to be, and William Sutcliffe manages to look at that very well in Concentrate. And finally, the last book on the YA Book Prize list for 2016 is The Art of Being Normal by Lisa Williamson. The Art of Being Normal is one of the most uplifting and hopeful books I have read in years. It is the story of a transgender girl who is living as a boy in the book, which is her birth gender, and it is one of the few books that looks at transgender issues, and it's certainly one of the only ones that I can think of that looks at them with a positive and hopeful light. It says, rather than saying society is going to be aggressive towards you, it looks at the way society is already starting to shift towards transgender issues, which just makes my heart quite warm to think that while we still have a very long way to go, books like The Art of Being Normal can be published now, and people will go, yeah, this is nice, I want to see transgender people having some kind of happy outcome in a novel, which doesn't happen nearly enough. Her characters are absolutely overflowing with love for each other, and that kind of spills out onto the pages. It makes the way the characters interact, even when things aren't quite going the right way, everything still feels like there is a sense of emotion and love and genuine passion for each other, and that's wonderful. It doesn't rely on a romantic subplot to kind of keep it going. It just focuses on these characters, on how they're developing, and on how they're accepting the people that they are, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful to read. She also has a brilliant teen voice, and her accurate portrayal of high school is terrifyingly kind of chaotic and aggressive at points, and really felt very genuine and very easy to slip back into that kind of that time when I was at school. And in doing that, I think she's created this feel that these characters and these people, these issues are our issues. They're not something separate from society. They are part of our society because we are all one kind of big cohesive group. And that's it. That's my lowdown of this year's YA Book Prize shortlist. Like I said, the winner will be announced on Thursday the 2nd of June. I'm going to be following it on Twitter pretty closely, so follow the link down in my in the description, and you can find me on Twitter and follow me there. If you've enjoyed this video, thank you very much for sticking with me. Feel free to give it a like, feel free to give it a subscribe if you would like to listen to me talk more nonsense about books. Also, something else that's quite exciting, I have become the co-host of the Adventures with Words podcast YA edition, which is a monthly podcast discussing kind of YA and the new stuff that is happening in teen fiction and young adult fiction. My co-host with that is Kate Neelan, who set up the Adventures with Words podcast in general. She is wonderful. You can also follow her on Twitter. I'll leave links to all of this down there in the description. The next episode of that podcast will also be looking at the YA Book Prize, so it'll be really interesting to see what Kate thought as well of the list. So, also, check out my t-shirt. Isn't it awesome? This is my Ravenclaw's Quidditch team t-shirt. I'm pretty proud of that. I'd never play Quidditch. Are you kidding me? I would be dead in the first match. But I would support my house because house pride.